Hey, Big West fans! Joining us now is first-year head coach Michael Henchy of UC Santa Barbara. Coach, great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
So you are a new face to the Big West as first-year head coach. This is your first head coaching opportunity happening at the place that has meant so much to you growing up in Ventura. So what does it mean to be leading this UC Santa Barbara program now?
Yeah, it kind of comes in waves how much I truly actually like. I don't know. It feels the same a lot of the time. The days in between, kind of, every once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the head coach now, and this is surreal. I think once you get rolling into the groove of things, it becomes like any other role or job. Like you have responsibilities that you're taking care of, and so it's easy to stay busy, or it's also easy to kind of lose grasp of the reason came here in the first place and was attracted to this job of just like you've mentioned, the relationship that I have to the school with my mom being an alumni, growing up down the street, basically playing high school matches in the Thunderdome. Every once in a while, once a week or so, I'm able to kind of pinch myself as I'm driving into work, and we couldn't do it in a more beautiful place too. So there's a lot of layers to that for me, but it's been a great reintroduction back to the area. I've been gone for 15 years, so I've been loving it. My son has been loving it. My wife's been loving it. It's been good on all sides.
We love that. Definitely a full circle moment. And I know that you come from being on a coaching staff at Penn State, which was a program that won a national championship in 2024. But what lessons or standards are you bringing now with you to Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I think Penn State. It's true of them. It's true of James Madison, where I was at American, at Springfield College, even at Ohio State. I think the fortunate journey that I've been on is being at places that have won or had success into the postseason, and so you find some common threads, and I think it all starts with the players and their level of drive, their level of compete. I think regardless of what team I've been, at some point it becomes the players' team. It's their goals that they're going to push for. Motivation is a very intrinsic thing. We can do a lot as coaches to try to bring things out of them, but getting the right group of people together, trying to cultivate that space, and I think that's something along each step, and no exception to Penn State. That was a group of girls that had to have some adversity along the way to find who they were as a collective group. And I think our roles with them, my role here, our staff's role is to put them in position to be able to recognize when those lessons are presented and be able to help guide them in terms of the decision making. I think we've got to keep them pointed onto championship focused decisions, but along the way, at some point it becomes the players team, and that's what we're hoping to have here.
Yes, you said players team, and you inherit one of the conference's brightest young players in Gabby Martinez, reigning freshman of the year. What stood out to you when you first evaluated her game, and where do you think her ceiling is?
The way she moves just exudes athleticism, just general body control, things like that. So I think that was always exciting, especially walking to the gym for the first time. You can watch all the film you want, but watching how people play and compete. But I think what kind of might be the thing that takes Gabby to the next level is probably just a little bit more of like her stepping into how she embraces being at the top of people's scouting report, and being somebody that you're not going to be a surprise to anybody, and that happens as you're going through your freshman year. But having time to sit back and look on a season and how you did or how everybody's telling you did, and then trying to avoid getting in a place where you're playing with expectations. I think we play best when we're playing within, not within ourselves necessarily, but kind of in a groove that lets us present, what our athleticism is, or how the skills that we've worked on. But in general, I think, there's no ceiling for Gabby, like the type of player that she is. It's going to be just based on her consistency and how she can show up and compete. But I mean, we're lucky to have her. I think we've got a really strong squad, those top to bottom. So I think that's important as well. We can't be looking at, Gabby as being the person that we need to hang on. I think we have enough arms across the gym to be able to lean into.
Yes, and so top to bottom, building upon what you just said, you also added 5 transfers this offseason. So talk a little bit more about what you were looking for when building this roster, and how quickly have those players been able to fit into your culture?
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, actually, 5 of the transfers we had were actually committed prior to the change happening and stayed on board. So I'm grateful for them and having, a roster of players that are pretty high level. So kudos to Matt and the staff that brought in really high level talent. We also added one during the May portal, and then actually a player here at UCSB. So we ended up with a total of 9 new players and 8 returners, because we ended up adding a late freshman, 2 transfers on our own, plus those 5. They've been able to transition in, I'd say, fairly seamlessly, which is 100% credit to the 8 that were here, how they embraced, bringing those new players in, the connection that they have off the court, finding time to spend, together at the beach, at their houses. They've really put in a lot of, conscious effort to make sure everybody is being included, being brought in. And I think, part of the toughness of going through a coaching change actually showed them a lot of positive things in terms of how they, build connection, how they kind of solidified themselves as a unit. So it's been nice to watch those new players come in, and I mean, honestly, if you walked into the gym, you wouldn't be able to pick out who those new players are. So I think it's a credit to the returners and the openness of those transfers that came in, but they're gelling well. It's in a fun spot. They're fun to be around. I think personality wise, they all were a fit for what existed already in the team. There hasn't been really any clashing personality types. But no, they're a fun group again to work with, not just personality wise, but on the court too.
And you talked about that transition of coaches. So how would you say you balance honoring what's already been built while creating something that's uniquely yours, uniquely Coach Henchy?
The day-to-day type things, I think, are from me and the staff. I think there's some ritual type things that we didn't come in and immediately say, hey, this is how you need to necessarily warm up. They had a warm up from the strength coach, like things like that are generally pretty consistent. We're fine, but I think style of play, it's just important for us to send a clear message of this is the type of volleyball we play, this is the energy, this is how it looks like. So we haven't done a ton to necessarily day to day build in, hey, this is the tradition of UCSB volleyball, but we have, Kathy's been in the gym since I've been here. Nicole hasn't been able to make it yet, but she will be in the gym. So tying in past coaches that have built kind of the legacy of the program, and I think leaning into the fact that there is a legacy to this program. That's a big thing. These girls on this roster are part of it, and it's now kind of in their hands to add to it or make their mark within that legacy. But there's a lot of history here to the program. There's a lot of success, and it's part of why I'm here and was attracted to this position. And I think that's part of why they're all here too. And so I do think talking about legacy, making those reminders of the people that came before them is important. It's also a call out to any alumni that want to come into the gym. Anybody who's here we want to be around the team and be able to talk to the team. We want that group to feel connected to the past. And so we talk about it a lot, but I don't think in terms of, coming in and saying, hey, we're going to just do everything this old way and let me evaluate. I came in more or less open to how they were training, but here's how we're going to play now, with a softness towards it's going to take some time to make that transition.
Yes, and so last one for you, beyond legacy that you talk about, when people watch UC Santa Barbara this fall, what do you want them to immediately recognize about your team's identity?
Loud and relentless. Like if we can be aggressive in how we move our bodies, aggressive in how we use our voice and communicate, I think we're going to be in a good spot as a unit. I think that's the goal in terms of what it presents to other people. The goal for us is to play championship level volleyball, and that's not when it comes to postseason, that's day to day, that's today in practice, that's in the weight room, that the expectation is your effort, both mentally and physically, is championship level, and that's going to present itself as loud and fast on the court.
So if you could lastly repeat and then finish this sentence in any way you would like, Gaucho volleyball this season will be
relentless.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Coach. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.